How would it be if you were forced to flee your country of birth and start anew in an unknown land? And how would it be if you chose Malaysia to be your new home?
We have problems in attending high school as refugees. We have problems that, even bigger problems for attending universities because we're not granted the right to be acknowledged as a refugee here in Malaysia. So many universities don't acknowledge the what we have, like the UNCR cards that we have.
And for the older people, they do have a lack of work opportunities. They can only do labor work, Even those who are very skilled enough, like 24, 25 years old, even if they have the skills, they have finished university, with their hard work, they cannot access very well jobs just because of their identity.
Welcome to Audio Stories, a 𝗕𝗘𝗚𝗡𝗏 Talking special edition show in collaboration with Empower Malaysia. We bring you voices of marginalized communities in Malaysia by questioning how would it be to walk in their shoes. In this episode, we hear a story written by two teenage refugees. Don't miss the other episodes featuring transgender, foreign spouses, and Orang Asli voices.
But first, a story. How would it be to have added pressure of fleeing conflict and starting in a new place alongside teenage angst and trying to find yourself? Meet Fatima and Halima, two plucky girls, and their journey from a refugee camp in Addis Ababa to standing in front of an audience at a TED Talk in Kuala Lumpur. In this aspirational short story by Abira Abdullah-Muallim and Yusra Asir Abdallah.
Freedom. A story by Yusra and Abira.
With Yusra as Fatima and Abira as Halima.
Hey, my name is Fatima and I am a journalist.
And I'm Halima. I currently work as a model.
Years ago, standing here talking to you at TEDx conference in Malaysia was but a dream written in whatever notebook we could get our hands on.
Yeah, we never imagined we'd be here, let alone sharing our latest youth project.
So, how did we end up here?
We ask ourselves that all the time. How did we end up here?
Well, we've got to take you back to the moment that changed our lives forever. The day my Hoyo came home with the ticket was all a blur. She buzzed around the house gathering our things together as my 12-year-old brother and I stared wide-eyed.
Naya, Bubsy, what are you doing? Get your things together.
I snapped into motion. We had rehearsed this moment for months, but I just couldn't stop thinking. This is it. This is our ticket out. I couldn't tear my eyes away from the window for the entirety of that 2-hour flight from Hamid to Addis Ababa. It was crazy how small everything looked up from there. And for a brief moment, I could forget all the hurt and pain my family and I endured in a country that was supposed to protect us. One ticket took us away from the years of war and conflict. But as the familiar sandy plains and rugged mountains morphed into the lush Ethiopian landscape, I couldn't help but feel nervous. We placed our bets on this unfamiliar, new place because an aunt I hardly knew moved here not long before. What if we get hurt? What if they don't accept us? What if nothing changes? What if?
The journey can be so daunting. I myself was so young when I left Somalia, and my Hoyo loves to remind me how I cried the whole way to Addis Ababa.
Anyways, before I could stress myself out with more worst-case scenarios, we landed at the airport, hearing the sweet melodies of Mogadishu by 𝗕𝗘𝗙𝗚𝗏 wafting through the building. I was immediately reminded of home. maybe Ethiopia wouldn't be too different after all. I felt at ease for all of 20 minutes as Aunt Zahra welcomed us to our new home, and my mind started racing. This was the home Aunt Zahra promised? It was a tent, and there was rows upon rows of others just like it. How many other people lived here? I wondered. There were older men and women gathered around a small fire, while children, some even younger than Ahmed, ran after a dirt-covered wall. There were parents carrying their babies, and volunteers offering packs of food. Where did all these people come from? Why did they leave their homes? How did we all end up here? Just as I was lost in thought, a girl stronger than me bumped against me.
Oh, look, it's the newbie. I heard you're from Somalia. But why do you look like that, though? Don't look so stunned, newbie. I'm sure it's not for the first time someone's asked that. Somalis are supposed to be tough. Are you sure you're really from there, newbie?
And there it was. Nothing changed. It was like I was back in Somalia again. Except this time, this girl was telling me I didn't belong even in my home country either. I ran and ran. I couldn't let that girl see me cry. I couldn't let her see how much her words affected me. Where's my tent? Which way is it? Everywhere I looked, all I saw were identical tents. It was only my first day here, and I already felt like I didn't belong.
Hey!
I opened my eyes to see a tall guy dressed in blue vest worn by volunteers, reaching a hand out to me.
Hey, are you alright?
I quickly wiped my tears. Ask me again in a few minutes.
Well, do you need help finding someone?
No, I'll be alright.
My name's Josh. And yours is?
Fatima? I crooked, looking at my feet.
Well, Fatima, just let one of us know if you do need anything, okay?
Thanks. And with that, I slowly tried to make my way back to my new home. I was exhausted, but just as I lay down to sleep,
Fatima, kaka, sarirta walalka iskele. What are you doing? Get off. You know the bed is for your brother.
Hayo, why should he get it? He's small and will be fine on the mat for one night. You always give him everything he wants just because he's a boy?
He needs to sleep well so he can grow big and strong. He's the one who will end up supporting this family anyways.
I'll have to provide for you both first, I muttered.
What was that?
Nothing, and I hesitantly rolled myself to the mat.
And was that a boy I saw you talking to just now? We've been here for 1 day, and you've already forgotten your values, Fatima. Oof! Why can't you just be friends with the girls?
First of all, Hoyo, they want nothing to do with me. Can't you tell that I'm not like them? I'll never fit in.
Well, you can try again tomorrow.
What's tomorrow?
I enrolled you in the local school near here. You thought just because we left home you could skip school?
But Hoyo, those students will just find more reasons to make fun of me and remind me how much I don't look like them.
No buts. You're going.
Though I was furious with my mom at the time, I was grateful that despite favoring my brother in almost everything, she insisted on me having an education. Without it, I don't think Halima and I would have ended up where we are today. I learned so much from my time at school, but don't get me wrong, my first couple of days were rough. That morning, as the bell rang, I stood frozen in the hallway. Then I heard a familiar voice call out to me.
Fatima, hey, you go here too?
Oh, Josh? Hi. Apparently I do.
That's cool. Hey, you should totally come to the fire pit we're having at the camp tonight. We talk, play games, and eat food.
Sounds like fun. I'll try to be there. Somehow, while we were talking, I made it inside the classroom. I was already excited for that night. going through all the different excuses I could give my mom. I knew she would never let me go, especially if she had who had invited me. But our teacher very quickly pulled me out of my daydream.
Everyone, please welcome Fatima. Would you like to come up and introduce yourself?
No, thank you, I thought to myself. But I stood up and walked to the front anyway. I could feel everyone's eyes on me, on my skin. And that mean girl from yesterday in my class? I'm pretty sure she's just whispered something about me to the person next to her. It was agonizing. It felt as though everywhere I looked, somebody was staring at me like I wasn't some human. I went through the whole day under everyone's judgment. I couldn't wait for it to be over. The one bright spot was when we were tasked to write out our dreams. I still keep that piece of paper to this day as a reminder of how far Halima and I have come. 10 years ago, this is what I wrote. I am 20 and have finally graduated. My parents are so proud of me and I pursue psychology in an entirely new country. I'm learning to love the culture of this new country and have even started to get involved in the local community as an organizer. I lead teams of people in community building projects that positively impact our lives. I'm surrounded by really supportive friends and finally feel a sense of belonging. At the time, I felt far from accepted, but that night at the fire pit, things began to change. After that less than a pleasant day at school, I was looking forward to taking my mind off things at the fire pit event. Hoya somehow didn't question me when I lied and told her I was going to 𝗕𝗔𝗟𝗔𝗬𝗦𝗜𝗔 tent at 9 p.m. As soon as I approached the fire pit, I immediately regretted coming. Everyone was there, including that mean girl and my unwelcoming classmates. Everyone was sitting in a circle around the fire. Dread flooded me as I walked towards the circle when Josh stood up and started speaking.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. To kick things off, why don't we go around sharing something about ourselves that no one else knows? Don't worry, whatever is shared will stay within the circle. I'll go first. I used to be really shy. Hard to believe, I know, but it's true. I struggled to make new friends or speak in front of a crowd like I am today.
I was still so nervous, but seeing Josh share something personal made me join the circle. And as soon as I did, someone else began speaking.
Hi, I'm Halima.
So that's her name, Halima. The person who has been making my time here and at school so difficult. What would she have to say?
I don't really know where to start. I think people assume different things about me and the sort of person I am, but I have struggled too, back when I was in Somalia.
Wait, what? She's from Somalia? How did I not know where we were from the same place?
I was bullied for being overweight at school. Kids would call me names and throw away my food. I eventually built the courage to fight back. No one has made fun of me ever since.
This was met with some applause. While others were tearing up, I wasn't even sure how to react. What Halima shared doesn't excuse what she's done to me, but I feel like I understand her a little bit better.
Fatima, how about you go next?
Suddenly, again, all eyes were on me. My palms were sweaty and I took a deep breath and started talking. Hi everyone, I'm Fatima. I actually want to begin by thanking Halima for sharing her experiences with us. Honestly, I have to say I'm a little surprised. I never imagined that our stories would be so similar, especially from someone who comes off as really confident. Everyone was quiet and Halima was staring right at me. I was also bullied until recently. People mocked my skin condition My classmates used to point their fingers at me, warning other people not to touch me, that my vitiligo was contagious. I was made to feel different every day, and that hurt. It still does most days, but I have also learned to see my difference as another part of who I am. Another reason that makes me unique. One day, I hope to speak up for people like me, for anyone who has ever felt like they didn't belong anywhere. I didn't know where the courage to say all that came from, but for a moment I felt a wave of relief getting off my chest. We continued going around the circle, with each person sharing their biggest fears, hopes, regrets, and dreams. It was incredible that we all somehow ended up here, opening up to one another. I was so taken by everyone's experiences that I didn't even realize Halima walked over.
Hi, is it okay if I sit here?
Yeah, sure. It was awkward for a moment, till Halima broke the silence.
𝗕𝗘𝗙𝗨𝗚𝗘𝗘.
And there it was, Halima apologized in Somali. Yeah, it hurts. Coming here was supposed to be a fresh start, but it felt as though I was right back where I started. We fled because of the violence between warring tribes. The way I was treated here felt a lot like I was being bullied based on my tribe, my Qabil.
I'm really sorry. I, of all people, should have known how the name-calling and mocking would have felt.
I wiped away a tear on Halima's cheek and held her hands in mine. I forgive you. After everything that happened to you, you were only trying to make sure you never experience that kind of pain again.
Yeah, I think I've been fighting for myself for so long that I forgot that I don't have to be this hard and tough person all the time.
I understand, and I really admire you for what you did tonight. You opened up, and somehow it made me want to do the same.
Hey, wait, say that again?
You inspired me to share my story because you told yours.
That's such a great idea. You said you wanted to speak up for other people like you, right?
Yeah.
But what if we go one step further? What if we encouraged people all over Ethiopia, all over the world, to speak up?
My eyes lit up. Wow, you're onto something here. Imagine that, a world where youth all across the globe are connected by experiences. Maybe we'll learn that none of us are so different after all.
And that's how we took over the world.
We're only half kidding. But yes, our night at the fire pit really brought the two of us closer.
Every day after that, we pursued this project with passion. We went around the camp interviewing refugee after refugee, and a few volunteers here and there. Each day, we'd hear tales of loss and grief, memories of someone creating Poyo's favorite dish, and another person overcoming the struggles of learning a new language. Most of all, there were stories of hope, hopes of what life could be within and beyond the camp, hopes of a place you can call home.
But the very first story published on the website addressed gender inequality in our community. It has a special place in our hearts because it was the first time we so openly shared our own experiences alongside millions of girls around the world. We tried to portray the strength girls have and show their potential to our community.
With a camera in Fatima's hand and a phone as a mic in mine, we walked around our camp asking these questions to our community members. What's the role of girls or women? Quite a few people were camera shy, Others were worried that they'd face backlash from their own families. But we did find people to record, even if we didn't always like what they said.
Yeah, we had from young boys who said girls belong in the kitchen, or older parents who believed that girls should only study up to elementary school then stay at home. It was hard hearing those comments. It took me back to Somalia, where women and girls aren't seen as leaders. Those who challenge those stereotypes often put their life on the line.
But after we posted that video on our website, it blew up. We got so many emails, and some suggested we apply for a global competition that invited participants to design projects regarding the challenges refugees face. We did just that, and guess what? We didn't win, but we did win third place globally, and first place in a category that specifically addressed gender inequality and refugee communities.
Before our win, my mom was opposed to our work and the idea of us championing gender equality. This win not only showed her what Halima and I were capable of, but from then on, she has been our biggest supporter.
The gender inequality post was the first of many. We continued compiling more stories and revamped our website a few months after that fire pit event. At first, we weren't sure if anyone was still interested in reading what we had to say, but with a little patience, lots of emails, and many days of hard work, our website soon had thousands of readers from different backgrounds. We never expected the website to grow the way it did. It quickly became this buzzing community where people could connect even though they were oceans apart.
It gave Halima, me, and so many other people like us a safe space and the ability to be completely ourselves. This project has changed our lives. Halima was able to move here to Malaysia, where she discovered that modeling was another passion of hers. She thankfully found job opportunities and, most importantly, a community.
Since then, we've been able to travel across the world, giving talks like this, and collaborating with different organizations to uplift the voices of various communities. Through this, we were able to provide for our families.
But above all, our project has shown us that you can and you will feel accepted, that you can and will find freedom and build a home with the people around you.
I never imagined that we'd be standing up here as refugees, as women, as people who have been bullied and looked down upon. But here we are, all because we opened up that one night.
Everyone has a story. I was just happened to begin at a refugee camp. So, tell us, what's your story?
Freedom really makes you feel how sharing one's story honestly paves the way for friendship and also the common ground we all stand on. And it also really highlights how refugees are not only normal human beings with hopes and dreams that have often been crushed by unforeseen circumstances, but they are often people who are forced to become stronger, more determined, and driven because of the desire for a place to call home and to be accepted as equals in society.
Yeah. I love that it was written by two girls who met each other and became friends in a different country. And they are both from the same country. They're both from Somalia, right? And also how hopeful it is. Because originally when we were working with them, like Stephanie and Ali really worked hard with them on this story. We did not know what was going to come out of it, but they wanted to write something aspirational and hopeful. And I thought that's lovely, isn't it? That is the whole point that we're doing these kind of stories. So Both Yusra and Abira are part of Project Stand Up, a youth-led initiative that empowers refugee youths to participate in decision-making and leadership roles within their community. Now, listen on for a conversation between Two Book Nerds Talking and Abeera and Yusra.
Thank you so much for that lovely story we just listened to, Yusra and Abira. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write this story? What does it say about your experiences? Maybe you can start, Yusra?
Hello all, my name is Yusra and I'm originally Somalian, raised in Kenya. I've been here for Malaysia for about 6 years now. Honestly, I have encountered a lot of refugees telling their stories, and there are a lot of refugees that I look up to, and just hearing some of their stories really touched me, and I could carry bits of everyone, and that's how I could make up this story with Abira.
Abira, can you tell us a little bit about the experiences in this story that reflected your own story?
Hello everyone, my name is Abira and I am from Somalia, but I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia. I came in Malaysia late 2016 and I'm here almost 5 years now. For me, like the experience that I personally, had that was also like linked and somehow empathized in this story were when both girls, Fatima and Halima, are refugees. They don't let their circumstances define what they can and cannot do. Regardless of, the struggles that they have faced, regardless of the limited opportunities, limited spaces for them to do what they want, the way that Fatima and Halima found their passion, found what they want to do, and to be able to get out or break the box that they were assigned to. They found their own way, they found their own passion, and basically they've gained freedom in that sense to do what they want to do.
So girls, tell us a little bit about your experience of coming over to Malaysia. Like, I'm sure there were a lot of culture shocks. So would you like to tell us what was it like coming here, and how was your reception over here?
So for me, when I first came to Malaysia, like when I first arrived at the airport, when I saw, different types of people, all the colors, different types of clothing, all of that, I was like, wow. And not just that, but also seeing Malaysia, like everywhere, there's green trees. I really liked the view and etc. So when it comes to culture shocks, the most thing that shocked me, not like shocked me, yeah, it was like very strange or unusual, is like when the car arrived, like the driver's seats for Saudi Arabia, the driver's seats were like on the left. Yeah, on the left. And then here, all the cars, the driver's seats on the right. So that one, I was like a bit, oh.
Something that really, really stood out to me as a person that grew up in Kenya is that so back in Kenya we have durians, okay, and I didn't know that. So I only discovered that Malaysia has durian after like 3 years, and I was like, okay, wow, okay, I know that maybe Kenya gets their durians from Malaysia because Malaysians eat it a lot. And so that was something very shocking. And also something that stood out to me is that as someone who grew up in Kenya, we don't have like things like Grab, Uber, so it's only like, outside taxis and vans. So it was actually shocking to see that you can actually order an app and then a car service would come and take you to the place you want. That's something both Somalia and Kenyans don't have. And also just how really friendly Malaysian cars are, the drivers, they're just so friendly. They would talk to you all the way to your destination. And VS, where I grew up, is that you just keep praying you get to where you want. So the safety is not there. VS here, yeah, like you just oh my, you just don't want to get off. You just okay, keep going, take me anywhere, just don't get me off. So we have here. So that's one thing I was really very proud of here in Malaysia.
Okay. I'm pretty sure we're not that advanced of a country compared to a lot of others. Maybe if you went straight to the US or something like that, you'd probably feel a lot more different. Maybe it's just because it's a tropical country, you don't have winter, that kind of thing, so you won't have a lot of big changes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about this Project Stand Up that you mentioned before.
I think. So Project Stand Up is a refugee-led youth initiative that we started when we were students at Refugee School. We kind of grew from just, designing one project or like interviewing, working with our community to designing and participating in multiple projects, working with multiple organizations as well. At the beginning, like the core value of why we started Project Stand Up was because of what we have noticed around our community, the fact that, girls, women are not supported to be in leaders position, like not supported to make decisions and to be someone that people look up to, and also having, less opportunities for them because of people believe that girls just stay at home, for example, or just girls after they graduate from school, what they just have to do is, just get married and just take care of their family. We kind of wanted to change that narrative from our community to show that girls are capable of doing everything that boys do and even better, while also working with boys from our community to be allies with girls. Sometimes, when we speak about, for example, gender equality, we always see most of the time just girls speaking about it, just girls standing up for it. But what we wanted to make different in our project is to also, we have boys in our team that are allies for us as girls and that support us, that give us this space to speak up. And when the community says, girls are not allowed to do that, the boys can stand up for us. We stand up for ourselves, but they also, support that, show that both of us can do whatever we want to do to achieve what you want to do. This is nothing to do with your gender.
So I took a look at your Project Stand Up website and I saw that there were different kinds of programs and trainings and workshops. So I just wanted to know, how did you guys come about getting the materials and trainers for these programs?
We, as ourselves as a team, we got trained for about a year. As refugees, we had to learn all the basics of documenting, how to write documents, how to write PPTs, how to approach people, when speaking the language we should use. So we developed, and after 1 year of trainings ourselves, we developed and delivered trainings to encourage youth, particularly the girls, to become, change agents in the communities. So first of all, our first program that we designed was the Champion Education Program. That was the first app that we submitted. That was to change the mind, not change mindsets, but to make the community understand that also female and women need to go to school, and both male and female can do the same tasks and house chores. And then after that, we know that it was a 3-month success. 50, 60-year-old men and female were talking about gender, and that's something very uncommon, especially in our societies. And we also, after that, we knew it was a success. We got more and more fundings to design more programs to be able to create a better society and community that's around Malaysia.
So just for people out there who are listening who may not know about this project, do you actually work reaching out to the public, or are you helping to reach out to other refugee boys and girls, or what is your target audience? What is it that you're aiming to do with this project?
So our target audience are, refugees, young refugees from any background. Like we have refugees, youth refugees from Palestine, Myanmar, Sudan, Somalia, Yemen. So we are quite diverse in terms of the youth that we have involved in our project. So we have more than one project, but currently our most active project is the Youth Leadership Program. Through that program, we aim to train young people to have the confidence, to have skills, to be able to design, be decision makers, be leaders in their communities.
Our target is the refugee youth, but hopefully in this year and next year, we're hoping not only to focus on, because we saw that in our programs we don't only have refugees applying, we have non-refugees, university students applying. Now we want to expand and bring together the non-refugees, the refugees, the locals, so that we have this connected group of youths all over the world.
Yeah, definitely. That's our also main goal, hopefully in the future.
That sounds fantastic. So, with all of these different programs and trainings, how has this project impacted your life?
It has had a huge impact, honestly. So from when I first came to Malaysia, I literally, all I knew was books and books and books. Like, I didn't know how to network with people. That was something that was not taught in my country. So as I went to the school and I had to restart my school, and there was these programs, you had to go to universities. I'm like, okay, I'm not in that stage yet. I'm young. But then after a year later, I realized that all they wanted us was to interact, teaching us to socialize. I realized it's something I had it in me, was to just socialize with people, make friends, be an extrovert. And from there onwards, I started being in every project. You could hear, Yusra is in this project, Yusra is in this project. And really, I just experienced a lot of stuff and I had a lot of opportunities to the point now, like literally, I'm working with different communities. I am studying university. I am just volunteering my time with local NGOs, refugee communities, community leaders, embassies. So it has opened a lot of doors for me.
Yeah, very, very similar with Lisa, what she has said. Because we participate, like we've done this project since we were students, we were 17, 16 years old when we started it. We kind of grew with it, like personally. We found out what we are good, what we want to do, like what kind of possible careers, for example, we want to work on. Like for me, the biggest impact that Project Stand Up has kind of given me was planting, I would say, the seed, the belief that no matter what is my identity, like refugee or not, I can still stand up for what I believe on, like what I want to do. That confidence and the leadership skills that I still use until this day to do what I want to do.
We wanted to ask you about what it's really like to be refugees here in Malaysia. Because there's technically no refugee law here in Malaysia, as Malaysia is not party to the 1951 Refugee Convention and the 1967 Protocol. So with regards to that, what are some of the challenges faced by the refugee community here in Malaysia? Have you faced any of the kind of discrimination or difficulties while you were here?
Personally, I do encounter a lot of refugees. I mostly live in the Somali community, and I know that in Somali community they do not have problems accessing to job opportunities. They do have, but then those are the older ones. But most of the majority community here is young people, and the Somali community leader actually provides a lot of opportunities because he has a good network and provides project opportunities. He has opened a school, primary school and secondary school. So for the youth, they do have a lot of opportunities. Maybe some of them do not notice that the community is providing this much of opportunities, but they do. And for the older people, they do have a lack of work opportunities due to, they can only do labor work, like carrying out heavy loads and this and this. But then they do not, even those who are very skilled enough, like 24, 25 years old, they have to do labor work. They're forced to, because even if they have the skills, they have finished university, with their hard work, they cannot access very well jobs, like becoming a social media marketing, working with an NGO, socializing with their fellow, locals. They cannot, because of their identity.
So I agree with Yusra, like what she has said. Refugees don't have access to job opportunities that they can use their skills and knowledge that they have gained, let's say, in their countries. And I just want to add here, like, my biggest challenge as a refugee here in Malaysia is accessing education. I say this because when we have graduated from refugee school, which is up to grade 9, we cannot attend any university because, basically grade 9 is not a high school. You don't have a high school qualification. And there are many refugee centers who don't provide the high school education for young people because of lack of resources, teachers, access to many, many things. And that kind of also, contributes to why we see less refugees attending university. So we have problems in attending high school as refugees. We have problems that, even bigger problems for attending universities because we're not granted the right to be acknowledged as a refugee here in Malaysia. So many universities don't acknowledge the what we have, like the UNCR cards that we have, that kind of details. So I think that's kind of like the biggest challenge we face here, and not to mention also the work rights and etc. But we kind of like just work with what we have. Project Stand Up, what we're doing right now, is basically giving hope to young people. Although we cannot have access to what we want to do, but we still cannot give up and just work with what we have, developing ourselves and skills, and at the end we hope things will change.
Yeah, so with all of that said, what are some of, the next steps do you want to see, not just from our lawmakers or the government, but every Malaysians too? Is there anything that you would want us to be more aware of? Are there any changes you would like to see?
So something that I really wish could happen as the next step is once that refugees are recognized, something very simple is that I just want to see both refugees and locals, going to the same school, because that way, they not only refugees don't share the depressed moments, but both of them could share the sad moments, locals could share what they're going through so that refugees understand, refugees sharing their depressing moments. And then after that, they can also share the happy moments, so that refugees don't wonder, okay, the local peers, the Malaysian peers, they're going to school, look at them having fun, look at them going to the canteen, I just want them to experience that as well. To let them know that, okay, Malaysians are going through something as well, but you just don't notice because you've come from a depressing country, ended up in a depressing school, So maybe both locals and refugees going to the same university, same high school, same school, for that.
I think it's important to see each other as human beings rather than putting labels like this is a refugee, this is Malaysian, and just basically communicating with each other as human beings with different experiences, and not let that different experiences, be a barrier or a reason to discriminate.
I think listening to your story is such a hopeful one. It kind of gives us a picture of how far you could go given the right opportunities. But do you see that possibility when you come to Malaysia? Does being in Malaysia give you that kind of hope for, being able to reach your full potential? And do you think that being in Malaysia is something that you feel is helping you to achieve what you want to achieve?
If I didn't come to Malaysia, we wouldn't have to do Project Stand Up, basically. So definitely coming to Malaysia in itself, it is a way, of hope, a way for us to kind of, look forward to what we can do for the rest of our lives. It's a new country where we can have new opportunities and etc. So there are many, many positive sides that we cannot deny when we came to Malaysia, first of all. And when we look at Malaysian people, honestly, I know many Malaysian friends that are really, really kind, very supportive, and so many Malaysians support the refugee cause as well. There's just, just a little bit of minority that may not agree with it, but that doesn't define, the larger public.
Are there other local initiatives that have been beneficial for your community? Besides Project Stand Up, are there any other organizations or anything that you would like to give a shout out to?
So we have the Australian department, Host International. So I think we wouldn't have got the fundings, our first project ever without them. So they still are with us here up to this point today. And also we have the Fiji organization. So there's the Fiji school, the Fiji organization, and they also have like a social enterprise. And our partners, I think they do handle all of our legal stuff.
Also, like mentioning the organization that our mentors has started called Refugee Youth Alliance. It's an organization where they also support refugee youth led, basically like us. And also mentioning an organization that we have been in collaboration with a few times called Hassan Volunteer Network, which was founded by Hassan, which is also a Syrian refugee who have done many great things. We also have our community center, like the Somali Refugee Community Center, that they have youth empowerment support that they design, also, project that they support refugees. And yeah, there's many organizations that also support refugees' cause, like more like bigger ones are, for example, 𝗕𝗘𝗙𝗨𝗚𝗘𝗘 that focuses on empowering women. And there's also Asylum Access Malaysia that focuses on providing, justice, making sure justice is served for refugees.
Okay, so I think both of you are aware that the point of this this project that we're doing with Empower is we want to make sure that more people are aware of marginalized communities here in Malaysia. And we want to be able to help them to understand you a little more. So if you could just think of a few things that you think that you would like to say to the Malaysian public on behalf of the refugee community.
Yeah, so I'd like to say, first of all, thank you for every Malaysian who have supported any refugee that they know or have encountered in their lives. Thank you for everyone who haven't encountered refugees but still supported them through, in any way they can, through social media or, as simple as sharing a story or a post. If you can or have an opportunity where you can encounter with a refugee, let's say, I'd like to request if you can have more time spending to getting to know their stories, seeing them beyond their identity as a refugee, and just being friends. Like, we're just people, so we can be friends. Since we all live in Malaysia, we can both improve the issues that we see that are affecting our communities, like the local community and the refugee community. Yeah, so I just hope we can have a good relationship where sometimes social media or what the politicians say won't affect how we see each other as people, and everyone has a story at the end of the day.
Yes, first of all, thank you so much. I think there's still kind souls still existing to some of the humans. Yes, obviously, while closing down school activities due to the COVID-19, we know it has affected almost every Malaysian, every refugee, every migrant, especially the lives of refugees and migrant children were particularly affected. For them going to school, at least, looking at their other refugee peers, at least getting to meet one of their Malaysian friends on the way on the street, being able to go out, have lunch with their friends, all of this has been affected and leading to so many causes due to hunger, due to medical issues, due to losing their jobs, and still, having some of these Malaysian NGOs, refugee NGOs standing up for these lives that are in very critical situations. So this time of pandemic, I have seen so many souls working day and night to be able to help the criticals being evicted, being in very poor hunger. So I could still see, kind souls are still there, and really I was really touched, and I was myself empowered to be able to go out and spend my time outside in this pandemic, not worrying about me and my family, the COVID, being able to support these people was a very big thing, being able to work with these Malaysian NGOs.
Yeah, I mean, what Yusa's mission was very, very important. So the fact that this COVID-19 pandemic, we all have hit, basically all of us, like equally, and there are so many NGOs that had, for example, food banks. They have helped both, the locals and refugees. So the fact that there is no discrimination to help both, I think that's at least, a positive point that we have seen this pandemic has taught us.
Exactly, yeah. So it was not only locals trying to help refugees. It was also, the refugees, they were like, okay, we have a space. The schools are not open. What could we do? We know that NGO staff could provide food. We know that supermarket staff are going to provide food for us. So could we also, just create a program where we just open up to everyone and we have everyone invited. They could take all the essentials needed. So it was just great to see that, even refugee youth, they were coming together to be able to arrange this big amount of foods together, package it, arrange these shelves, and then I could see Malaysians coming, I could see Afghans coming, I could see especially Myanmar, Somali coming, and it was just nice. So yeah, it was nice to see both people standing together.
That's really great. Yeah, this pandemic has really brought out, the best in a lot of people. So, with regards to that, I would just want to ask if any of our listeners or anyone out there would like to get involved with whatever you guys are doing, how do we do that? Who do we reach out to? Where do we go? And all that stuff.
There are opportunities, for example, where community learning centers need people to distribute food, volunteers. And there are also opportunities where you can have internship with the bigger organizations where you can provide your support. Not just, your time itself is valuable, so supporting with the skills or the knowledge that you have to support refugee-led organizations, let's say, etc. So there are many ways you can help, including donating for some of the causes, donating for example, our projects to keep going and running. For example, we have our Project Stand Up website. If you can just type projectstandup.squarespace.com, you can see our projects that we do. You can sign up to our newsletter to see what we do, each month. And you can reach us out, like send us an email if, let's say, you are someone who work on the mental health field. Like we have young people who may need counseling or, who may need, the knowledge of mental health. Or let's say you are someone who is creative and work in the stories field, let's say, or basically, art and etc. We always look for individuals who have these certain skills that they can provide their time with us. Then we can organize a workshop for the youth that we have to learn these different things from professional people. So there's always opportunities where you can volunteer with us, support us in leading a workshop, for example.
Okay, and just more generally, do you have any suggestions for somebody who might like to read up a little bit on what it's like? Book examples that you feel give people a better idea of what your life has been like.
Well, definitely. I hope the story that you have listened have helped a little bit to understand what kind of our life experiences are. So when it comes to books, I think, I don't know, but the Kite Runner. It's a book that I have read. There are some similar experiences where this person was living in a conflict and then have left to another country to seek a better life. So I think that book might be a good way to understand the stories of refugees.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do personally, I do read books, but not refugee books, but I do look into, refugee social media platforms, like there is the Yusra Mardani, the refugee swimmer. Her story is very inspiring. We have Halima, we have Ramla, all these individuals are very inspiring stories. So definitely look up into their Instagram stories, their social media platforms. We also have a refugee youth here who's called Prince. I assume, yes, he also has a very interesting journey, and he's here in Malaysia, so I definitely recommend you looking into him as well.
For some fiction that circles around refugees, try The Journey by Francesca Sana. This is a picture book. You can read it with your kids. And it deals with conflict, immigration, compassion, independence, and courage. It is told through the eyes of a young girl. The story explores the unimaginable decisions made as a mother and her 2 children are forced to flee their home and everyone they know to escape the turmoil of war. It's also very beautifully illustrated.
One book that I've actually been looking out for recently is Butterfly by Yusra Mardini, which is a memoir written by a young Syrian refugee. And when the boat she was fleeing to Greece on suddenly malfunctioned, she didn't hesitate to jump into the water to help pull all the passengers to safety. And eventually she became an Olympic swimmer, and she competed in the 2016 and the 2020 Olympics. And she's also now a UN Goodwill Ambassador.
Oh, that is so cool! The Red Pencil by Andrea Davis Pinkney describes the life of a Somalian girl who lost everything she had after an attack by Janjaweed militias. She attempts to reach a refugee camp on foot, and during her journey, she is offered a red pencil. The gift reinforces her hope and opens up new opportunities. So this is another children's book. There's actually a lot of really nice children's books and picture books that enables you to have a conversation with them about, refugees and about other children that is forced to flee their countries.
And that's a fiction one, right? I found a number of really good nonfictions, including a new book by Malala Yousafzai, which came out this year. It's called We Are Displaced: My Journey and Stories from Refugee Girls from Around the World. It came out in March this year. So here Malala shares the personal stories of some of the incredible girls she has met on her journeys to refugee camps around the world. And these girls who have lost their community, relatives, and often the only world they've ever known. So, I mean, if you're really looking to get into the mindset of, all these people who have been displaced, this might be a good one to look at.
If you're looking for meatier fiction to sink your teeth into, I quite enjoyed Long Petal of the Sea by Isabel Allende. It is a work of historical fiction, and it follows 2 young people fleeing the Spanish Civil War in the 1930s. Together with 2,000 other refugees, they embark on the SS Winnipeg, a ship chartered by the poet Pablo Neruda to Chile. I never knew this, that Pablo Neruda actually saved people and brought them to Chile. And this is why it's called The Long Petal of Sea and Wine and Snow.
I think it's good to include a book like this because, we often get caught up in this whole idea that refugees are often from third world countries. And you forget that, like many, many places around the world also have this kind of problem, right? Where people are displaced by war and famine and what have you. If you look out for these stories, you can definitely find them beyond Asian narratives.
Yes. And this is a family saga. I mean, I do like Allende on occasion.
And last but not least, we also want to recommend Exit West by Mohsin Hamid, which is a book that employs magical realism to tell the story of 2 young people who fall in love and then flee their country's unrest by finding a magical door to another country. Exit West follows these characters as they emerge into an alien and uncertain future, struggling to hold on to each other, to their past, and to the very sense of who they are.
I remember enjoying this book as well. So there you go, guys. So that's good further reading for you. Thank you very much for listening to Audio Stories. It is made possible by Empower Malaysia with funding from the United Nations Trust Fund to End Violence Against Women. Special thanks to Abira Abdullah and Yusra Asir Abdallah for writing and reading the story for us today.
As a final word, we urge you to take interest in the hidden communities that are around you. Engage with them. Simple acts of activism can begin by just asking them to tell me your story. Be curious, and most of all, be kind, because all of us can use a little kindness in this world. If you see discrimination happening around you, speak up or comfort the victim if you can. And if you can, of course, ask your representatives or place of employment what they are doing for these communities. Check out Project Stand Up on Facebook and Instagram at project_stand_up to learn more about refugee youth initiatives and how you can support them.
This has been Audio Stories, a 𝗕𝗘𝗚𝗡 Talking special edition show. We are produced by Renegade Radio and supported by Elisa Pong and Stephanie Ong. And as usual, we are your friendly neighborhood book nerds, Diana Young and Hani Ahmed.
For more details on the work that Empower Malaysia does, you can follow them on Instagram at MyEmpower, Twitter at Empower Malaysia, or go to their website at empowermalaysia.org. To read the audio story in a written form, you can also check it out at feminist.my.
We leave you with a quote from 𝗠𝗔𝗟𝗔𝗬𝗦𝗜𝗔. The same blood runs in every human on the earth. You just have to see past the variations in skin and culture.
Stay well, everyone, and happy reading.